Hey guys,
Hey.
it's been kind of a crazy week with what's going on. With the whole world is chaotic right now with everything that's happening. So I thought, we would just have a conversation. This is videos is the purpose of this video is to just have a conversation, not to raise any more anger, not to pick sides, or not to say, hey, you're right, I'm wrong, or I'm wrong, you're right, like that. No, not to say any of that. It's just a conversation. And Brittany and I, we said, it would be awesome to just talk about some of the things that have been a reality in both of our lives. So I think with the death of George Floyd, that's been even more of a highlight. Well, let's just say it brought light into this issue of racism. And if you're watching this video, don't feel the pressure, or don't feel bad, or don't feel that we're trying to get at you or anything like that. No, it's just a conversation.
Yeah,
So,
our heart is to start a conversation, a peaceful conversation.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things where for me, I feel like my experience this week has been not to react, because my reaction, even from seeing that video a week ago, I had not posted anything on my social media account, mainly because I still felt like anything that I would post and that during the week would have been out of anger, that I know, in frustration, which it was right to feel that way after watching this video that I've watched more than once. But I chose to just be like, you know what? God help me have the right mindset, the right thinking, and the right just give me wisdom to deal with the whole thing. And I know it's been hard for the both of us in that way, because now you go on social media that's all you see. That's all you see that's happening. But
if I'm being honest, I kind of love that that's all we've been seeing, because it's bringing light to it. You know, like even myself, like I've been posting on it just because, I'm in a different place than you are, but I feel like that's what everyone's heart has been lately, is they don't want to be silent. And I think that that's the heart that we all should have, is we need to speak up for each other.
Right.
We might not have these giant platforms that some people do, but you have your inner circle, and those are the people that are watching your Instagram or your Facebook, whatever. And the more light you bring to this situation, the more hope that there could be. And also, I think also a change of mindset. When you post certain things, it's like we all deal with things differently. We all might have different outlooks. We all come from different perspectives. But when we can post in light of this, it's not just a post to just see like look what happened. It's posting to say, listen, like I want to be a voice. And we live in a day and age where social media is such a voice. And that's why I think it's awesome that people have been using that quote unquote voice in this situation.
And as they should. I think we again, no pressure for anybody who have not, if you have not posted about it, hey, that's you. There's no pressure for you to post anything, but silence is also not the best decision right now. But again, if that's something you feel like, hey, I would rather not say anything on social media when it comes to that stuff, that's you. But we know the right thing for us right now to do is to have this conversation and talk about how this has impacted us and throughout this week. So I feel like it's been hard on the both, like I was saying, on the both of us. We've shed some tears over this, and just thinking about the reality of it all. But yeah, I think even watching this video, my struggle has been that every aspect of that video it just didn't fit. It just didn't sit well with me, and I just thought, man, like if I could talk to somebody about it, it would be awesome. And we talked about it, and we have a friend whose dad was an officer. He's a retired officer now. I got to see him a couple days ago, and I got to ask him, like, you know, well, first of all, he kind of approached me about, you know, and just asked me about, hey, what do you think? Like, what do you think about what's going on? You know,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I think that's a big. I'm sorry to interrupt,
no,
but I think that
fine.
is the key.
Yeah.
Where to not feel like you can't bring something up.
Yeah.
Because it's better to talk about it than to just pretend nothing's happening.
Yeah. Let's be real. It's the whole big elephant in the room right now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's pretty much, that is the world that we're living in right now, you know? So when he asked that, I was like, oh, awesome. And I felt comfortable enough to have that conversation with him. And I shared my frustration and what, you know, and I got to ask him, you know, a question. So one of the things that in the video that I felt like for me was, that I struggled with personally, was the fact that, like, the officers that were with, you know, the one who had his knee on George's neck, you know, the fact that they just didn't do anything in that aspect, you know, like they didn't see the need, I guess, to just say, hey man, like, okay, we've got him in handcuffs, you know, so he's down, he's not resisting, so can we get him up, you know, like, hey, let's just get him in the car. But that's not what happened. So I told him, you know, as I was talking to the retired officer, I said, you know, hey, this is what I felt like maybe you could give me an answer to, you know, if not answer, but like maybe your opinion on this, you know. And I asked him, I said, if you ever found yourself in that situation where, any situation, if that matter, where it involves an individual where you can, there were things that you could step in, you could say, you know, like, have you ever found yourself in that situation where you actually stepped in, or somebody else had to step in, or things like that? And I even asked him, I said, in that situation, if you saw the video, what do you think could have been done? Or if anything, were there any other ways these guys could have dealt with this situation, or even stepping in while this guy's life was in jeopardy, while he was being, you know, his life was being taken from him, you know? And his answer was, there were so many ways. There are so many ways, other ways that they could have stepped in, you know? There are so many other ways they could have said, hey man, like, hey, let's go, you know, let's not do this right now. And even to hear that, and just like watching the video too, and seeing the lack of remorse that, you know, even the particular officer had, was just like, it was just mind-blowing. And I'm gonna say this, that like, that what happened to George Floyd was was an act of evil. That was totally an act of evil, 100%. Like, no taking away, like, we're not gonna take away from that. Like, it was an act of evil that is also attached to racism. Yeah, that is just what it was. So do we feel like it's important to talk about these things? Yes, because these are things that have been that's been going on for a long time, you know, a long time now, like way before I was born, you know. So the things that's happening now, you know, with that being on social media so much, is just bringing light into this main issue that's been happening, and that we've all been, you know, a problem. Well, we've all been victimized by, you know, and I've shared with you, I've shared with some of my friends my experience, you know, my experience with not just, you know, officers, but also racism, you know, other people that felt the need to say things, or the need to treat me a certain way. But those things are real, they're really happening. And the thing that came to mind too, was like, how many of these things went on without a camera there to film? Yeah. We're so grateful that that guy was there to record everything. Most definitely. You know, like, we're so grateful for that, because had that not happened, then George, he would have just been another dude, another black guy who just died on the streets. No stories, no nothing. that's all it would have been.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And my heart goes out to the whole Black community, and I think that you know, what's crazy is that just speaking honestly from my perspective, having Rodney in my life and seeing what he's gone through, like there was one time, if you don't mind me sharing,
oh yeah,
there was one time that he was in Target and some guy, one of the security guys, was definitely like singling him out, but I wasn't aware of it. Like I wasn't thinking about it. My mindset had never been that we would get singled out, and I know my husband obviously is a different race than I am, and I love that about him. I appreciate everything that his culture is, but I think that I don't really think about it. It's not in the forefront of my mind because I don't deal with it. I've never dealt with being a victim of racism, and so seeing even in that situation where he was pointed out at Target and singled out, and the guy was just making awful faces at you and just kind of watching him very like it was disgusting. After he said it, I was like, oh no, I don't think he's doing it, he's just doing his job. And then I watched the situation unfold. He was just being very vulgar in his hand gestures towards him, and just singling him out.
Yeah, being nasty.
And we had filed a report about it and all this stuff, and they didn't really even do anything about it. But regardless, the point was that, like, I think me growing up, I was always taught that race is beautiful. I was always taught that it doesn't matter what color your skin is, like you will always treat people with the utmost respect and kindness. And I owe that all to my parents. My mom and dad have always taught us that, and I'm blessed to come from a family like that, and unfortunately not everybody comes from families like that. And so I think what I kind of wanted to hit on in this video, and just this conversation, to start this conversation, is even about white privilege. And even when I think of that word, I'm like, oh, like white privilege, like it just sounds bad. But I think the reality of it is that we do grow up in a society that there is white privilege. And me being a white person, I can attest to that. There is white privilege in the aspects of you think about growing up, like in schools, like what do your textbooks mostly consist of? They're mostly maybe images of white individuals, and maybe an occasional African American or Asian, just to kind of make sure that they're covering their basis. But my heart would be that they wouldn't just cover their basis, that they would include all of our races. Like, God created us so uniquely on purpose, and we are supposed to see that color. That color is not supposed to be like, I know people used to say, oh, I don't see your color.
Colorblind.
Like, colorblind, but God isn't colorblind, clearly, because He created us all differently.
Absolutely.
And I think that we have to see that beauty in people. And going back to even white privilege of, think about all the little details growing up. Like, even now, like, look at Band-Aids. What color are Band-Aids? They're my skin color. Yeah, I actually found Band-Aids that were your color one day, and I was like, wow, look, they actually have them. But I shouldn't have that mentality that, wow, they have them. Like, that should just be natural. Or even today, I was watching an old show on Disney Plus, and every character on the show was white. It's all of these small things that just happen, and it's not nothing that I've done wrong. It's nothing that we've done wrong as a society. It's so ingrained that for some reason white is predominantly catered to. Movies, TV, and I think I've noticed it, but I definitely know I've been more aware of it because I have you in my life, and I love that. I love that I can never understand where you come from, but I also have my heart also goes out to you and the Black community, because we have a deeper connection now, that like when you feel that grief, I feel it as well, but not to the extent that you do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not like a victimized kind of way that we're even saying that. Like, I don't live my life every day like as a victim. Like, oh man, I'm looking for the next case of whoever is gonna treat me a certain way because of my color, like or the color of my skin. You know, I don't wake up like thinking that way. You know, like I live my life the way that I believe that God wants me to live my life.
Yeah.
But also I try to not always prejudge a situation or prejudge somebody, or say, you know what, this person didn't look at me that way, so therefore he's racist, or this person didn't shake my hand, or like whatever it is. I don't do that, because that is not the right thing to do. And that's not me. So I don't living as a victim is not the right way to live when it comes to you know, racism. But also there are situations that remind you of those things. When you're being treated in certain ways that you shouldn't, then that makes you feel less. That makes you feel unwanted. It makes you feel that like you're really nobody, you know. I was watching a conversation actually on Sunday. It was between two pastors who actually just they decided to have a conversation, kind of like the same way we're having conversation right now. And it was awesome, because it was, his name was was Collins, who's a white man, and T.D. Jakes, Bishop T.D. Jakes, which most people know. They were having a really honest conversation, and he was talking about, even in our Constitution, right? Black folks are not human. Like, they're not fully human, and that was in the Constitution. So that in itself was like, wow, mind-blowing, like just even to hear that, you know. But a lot of people don't know that, you know. So, and that conversation was really awesome, and I feel like that is needed for somebody to watch, you know, just to even like get a little bit of an idea of what really is going on. So yeah, with that being said, I feel like it was important for us to have these conversations, and to everyone, not just us, but like other people, like you guys watching, just have these conversations, you know. Yeah,
don't be scared to have conversations.
No.
I think that's key, is to just be able to openly and honestly have conversations that aren't arguments, and knowing that like we all come from different viewpoints, we all come from different standpoints, and the goal of it all is to love. You know, we want to love one another the way that God wants us to love one another.
Yeah.
And you know, I think one thing too that I kind of wanted to hit on was like, what do your conversations look like behind closed doors? Whether it be with your families, friends, like, you know, just what do they look like? Because that really will show you how you feel towards a certain race, and it would also, you know, open your eyes to maybe what, you know, what you really think. And you have in those moments, you also teach your family, teach your kids on how to love different races, different cultures behind closed doors.
Yeah.
And that if you do that, when you go out into the world, it's that much better, it's that much easier, and that we can truly love each other that way, because it all starts at home. It starts at home, it starts with your friends, and that just continues to grow. So once you open that door of honesty, to be able to discuss these things, I just think that our world honestly would be a better place.
Yeah. And a way to help is accountability. You know, if your friend said something that's not like that you know is not right, and you know in you for sure it wasn't good, hey, you could have that conversation with them, you know, like, hey, that's not, you shouldn't say that, buddy. You know, and that's in a way to help. If you're in a group of people, if you're in a circle or a setting where people are they're talking about other races, you know, any race at this point that's not fair, you have to communicate that, you know, and that's another way to help, is speak up, and also, you know, make sure that like your friend knows that you have their back, you know, and whatever the situation may be. So you know, don't be afraid to say to your friend, hey, that what you said isn't right, you know, and be aware, you know, like that's so much like you have to watch what you're saying, I guess, but like be mindful of those things, you know, and step up when you need to. All right. Yeah, and I feel like these conversations are needed.
Most definitely.
We'll definitely have more and more of these conversations, and we know we're praying, and you know, we go to Jesus for everything. And I feel like in situations like this, and the way that our world is turning with the virus, and then now what's happening, you know, we need to pray. You know,
we need Jesus.
We need to pray, for solutions, pray for answers that maybe we don't have, you know. right now. So yeah, continue to pray. And you know, the family of George, we're praying for them as well. We cannot imagine what they're going through. And everyone's affected by this, guys. Everybody, the officer's family, everyone is involved in this. So
yeah,
everybody's is affected by this. The whole world is. So let's keep praying, you know, and have hope. Our hope is only in Jesus. That's where it is. And so we're gonna continue to have these conversations, and when needed,
we encourage you guys to have those conversations.
Yeah.
You know, and like we said, our heart was just to start the conversation.
Yeah.
And thank you for listening to us. You know, we don't have everything, you know, we're not perfect either by any means, but you know, we all have to take our steps to be a better person and to love one another in better ways. So yeah, and you know, we love you guys. If you made it this far, that means you care, and that means that you love us. That means that you're for us. That means that you're gonna continue to be for us, and you need to know that we are for you as well, and we love you. All right, so take care. And feel free to reach out to us too. You know, if you want to talk or whatever, we're here. Comments, anything. You know, so yeah. And we love you. We'll see you guys soon, you know? Yeah. All right. Bye, guys. Bye.